Okay, hi Eve. I hope you're having a good holiday. Mine is fabulous, sitting and marking drafts. Anyway, I have had a look through your draft and highlighted a few areas that need looking at. So, first of all, the first thing I notice is the headings. They all seem to be slightly out of order. So you need to just go back to the task sheet. And it starts with form, purpose, target audience, social context, visual elements, language features. You may decide that you want to start with social context, and I will talk a little bit about that. But you just need to change this so that it's a little bit more logical, because you chop from purpose to language features and then form. So you need to address form, purpose, audience, and before you move on to the language and visual elements. So this part where advertising, just look at your sentence structure. So this was 2 sentences. You just change it with a little bit of comparative language here into a complex sentence, and you've used that comparative language. Now, do they share a similar purpose? Kind of, but actually I think really Blue are selling a product. The fact that it happens to be a product that can replace cigarettes is a sort of added bonus. But they are not trying to get people to stop smoking. They are trying to get people to want to smoke Blue cigarettes. So I think you just need to make that clear. One is Blue is selling a product, and the Quitline one is promoting a change in behavior. So you need to make that clear. Purpose. Now, you need to go back to the PowerPoint where I do make clear that the purpose of any advertisement is to enable the target audience to remember the product and to create a desire in the audience through some kind of emotional connection to want to buy the product. Or in the case of the Quitline, to inspire a change of behavior. So you need to just, this part should be quite short. Keep form, purpose, audience, target audience shortened to the point, like 150, 200 words each. 150 words each, because you need to save more words for your analysis. Now, what you've done here is you've gone off on to analysis of the visual elements. So you need to cut this from here, and you're going to need to put that under your visual elements analysis. The way you talk about it is okay, but I will talk more about that. Language features. Just be clear that these are all persuasive language techniques. It's not formal, but it's casual. So don't say completely formal. Just say it's casual. And when you say with words that are commonly used, the technical word for that is colloquial language. And so the audience can relate to the product or to the value that they are inspiring. You need to decide. Quitline, if we just go to purpose, it's fulfilling its purpose through appealing to the desire for health. It's actually using the persuasive technique of playing on the audience's sense of fear. They're actually it's sort of done through or actually cause and effect. they're highlighting all the beneficial effects on your body of giving up smoking. So it really is focusing on the desire for better health. Whereas the blue, I think it's not about health here. It's about possibly sex appeal and a bit of status, because the overall mood of this is you are going to look so sexy when you smoke these blue electronic cigarettes. And then if you look at the language that they use, freedom never goes out of fashion, control when and where you want to smoke with blue electronic cigarettes. There's some quite emotive language there, freedom, and this idea of control. They're appealing to this idea of, I think it's status, and there is a bit of sex appeal. You'll be a strong, independent, in control woman if you smoke e-cigarettes, and if you are a man, you will attract this kind of strong, independent women because they're going to see you smoking those cigarettes and go, oh gosh, he's so sexy. So you need to be really looking at the language that they're using. Okay, you've done a fairly good job. You've picked out a few words here to back up what you're saying. Now, when you say make the advertisement seem well written, what I think you're saying is that it's got an air of, the language has an air of authority about it. And you need to go back to the words, and it's using high modality, isn't it? Freedom never goes out of fashion. A bit of alliteration there. Control when and where you want to smoke. So you've written about the direct address. There's a bit of technical jargon here. Produces no smoke and no ash, only vapor. So that's technical jargon. That's telling you about the product. If you look at the annotated advertisements that were attached to the Visual Elements handout, you'll see an example of jargon being used in the second advertisement. So it's using the specialist language of the product, and it's designed to make us believe that there's perhaps a scientific basis even to, and also it's trying to reassure the smoker that even though it doesn't produce smoke and ash, so the fact that it doesn't produce smoke and ash, which are the sort of ugly things about smoking, they're promoting it as the ultimate accessory and the smarter alternative to regular cigarettes. So it's this idea of it's a kind of sex accessory, but it's also what if you choose this, then you're smarter because you're actually choosing it against regular cigarettes. Step out in style with blue. So again, a lot of you did talk about the alliteration, but they use it a lot. So you're going to need to go back and have a look at your analysis of the language features. Make sure you're using clear topic sentences and you're naming the techniques. So it's using, I think it's not colloquial language, is it? Or it's authoritative language. It uses the jargon of the product. It has an air of authority. It's using high modality. This ultimately is suggestive that there's no denying this. So the fact that it's well written, relatable, but not casual and thought out, I think what you want to say here is that it is promoting the product with authority. And yes, making the audience feel this is the best solution to their issue, maybe even the only solution. That's good. Keep going. Now, you've done quite a lot on the blue, but this is all you've done on Quitline. And there's a lot to write about here. So you need to, it's using cause and effect, which is a persuasive technique. So when you do this, when you stop smoking, this is going to be a positive effect on your body. So it's reinforcing constantly that appeal to improved health if you make this lifestyle change. But you haven't mentioned this slogan, every cigarette you don't smoke. I think it says, does you good. Or every cigarette you don't smoke is doing you good. So you need to analyze that. That's the sort of slogan of this campaign and was repeated on other posters. Okay, so Eve, you're going to need to go back and do a little bit more on those language features. Form. Now, as I said, that this should really come first. So, and you're right, they're made for posters or prints. But what do you mean prints in general? What does that mean? They were made for posters. Did they appear in magazines? I think you talk about this, but again, under a different heading. So you need to make sure that you're talking about form, all those aspects of form, the kinds of magazines that they were published in, and the fact that they were put on posters at bus shelters, perhaps in shopping malls. And again, you have to show your understanding. It's where there's high footfall of their target audience. So if the first one's targeted generally towards women, where do women congregate? And where are they going to be tempted to smoke? So it might have been in shopping malls where they could be buying their cigarettes. It's supposed to make you stop and think. Could be in bus shelters when they're sitting and about to light a fag while they wait for the bus. Not on busy highways, because there's too much information there to take on board. So you need to show that you understand that. And it would have appeared in magazines. So this is the kind of thing that you need to be showing your understanding of in this section, Eve. So you need to go and do a little bit of tidying up there. Yeah, so you've gone off track into analysis of visual elements again. So you need to be short, concise overview of the two forms, show your understanding of the positioning and the intention that is behind that, all of which is to reach the target audience, get their attention, and have the greatest possible impact. Audience. So I think smokers is a bit too general, because I think the big difference between these two advertisements is that the quit line, you say it's less refined. Did you mean defined? I think it's more obvious that this is aimed predominantly at women, because it is an image of a woman. It's not using sex appeal. This is the kind of woman that we can all relate to. And therefore, this is targeted at female smokers. And you've shown your understanding here of what I've just been saying needs to come under form. But when you say most people, be specific. It's target audience of young women aged, 20 to 40. And you say it makes it hard to determine the intended audience, but it's very clear what the intended audience is. So I think, again, just your sounding, the intent can be assumed to be women smokers. I think just make this clear, as I've just explained. Here you do talk about the magazines that it was published in. This should all go under form. Now, if you prefer, what you could do is, if you want to join form and audience under one heading, just write form and audience, then you could sort of put them together. But otherwise, just keep them separate and clear. Social context. Now, this is one of the cases where I actually think there's quite a strong reason why you might put social context as your very first heading, because I think it's important. Obviously, this is not enough. You haven't talked at all about the huge cost that smoking-related illnesses are having on countries, governments' budgets, and therefore the governments are funding anti-smoking campaigns to try and change people's behaviour.